Hello, thank you for checking out A1 Math, and today we're looking at graphing exponential functions. This is part 2. It's basically the exact same lesson, just breaking it down a little bit more, going over a couple more practice problems. We're going to take a look at this first example. Okay, so here it says state A, B, and the Y-intercept, then graph the function that describes the end behavior. So what we want to do first is plot our points. And you just use a regular T-chart. You put x and f of x. Okay? And for all these examples, you want to use -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay? So we're going to plug these values in and get the answer, and then we'll have our ordered pair, and then we're going to take that ordered pair and graph it. So, again, if you plug in -1 in for x here, and just type that in your calculator or work it out, you would end up with a +1. Okay? If you plug in 0, you would get 3. If you plug in 1, you get 9. And if you plug in 2, you get 27. Okay? And what I'm going to do first is go ahead and graph it. Then I'm going to go over the A, B, Y-intercept, and all of that. So, as I plot the points here, I'll go to -1 and 1. And notice how it's chunked off here in each block is worth 5 units. So, -1 will be really small here. So when I go over -1, it'll be about right here somewhere. All right. At 0, I get 3, so that's going to be a little more than halfway, about right in here. At 1, I get 9, so that's almost a 10. And at 2, I get 27, which is way up here. 20, 25, 27, right in here. And then I go ahead and draw a line. All right, so now I have this line, and what I want to do is go ahead and say what AB is and the Y-intercept. Well, AB and the Y-intercept is pretty easy. First, remember that we're looking at f of x, or y, is equal to AB raised to x. Okay, so A is going to be 3, and B is equal to 3 as well. Okay, so the Y-intercept is going to be wherever you put in for 0, what do you get for Y? That point is the Y-intercept. Now we're going to talk about the end behavior. So there's 2 things you have to check. You have to see when x goes to 0, negative infinity, I should say, what does the line do? And when x goes to positive infinity, what does the line do as far as going up and down? So as it goes to negative infinity, I'll put x goes to negative infinity, y goes to 0. Okay, so that's going this way. See how the line gets closer and closer to 0, and it'll never pass, so it'll get close to 0. That's how the function's end behavior is doing. All right. So now as x approaches positive infinity, y goes to, it keeps going up, 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 up to positive infinity. And that's the end behavior. All right, let's take a look at another example. All right, so in this example here, we've got a 0.6, and if you remember the graphic organizer I gave you before, that gives you some indications of what the graph is going to look like, but we'll just go ahead and plot it out, make a T-chart, and then go from there. So, go ahead and make my T-chart first. All right, and I'm going to use the same points, -1, 0, 1, and 2. All right, so when I plug in -1 here and type that in my calculator, I get 8.3. When I plug in 0, I get 5. When I plug in 1, I get 3. And when I plug in 2, I get 1.8. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and plot those points out here. So at -1, I'm at 8.3. So that's up here close to the 9. Let's see what the end see. So we got 3 here. So this is 1.5. And then at 3, it's at 4.5, and so on. So 8 would be up here in this area. So since that's 8.3 estimated there. At 0, we're at 5, which is about right here. At 1, we're at 3. And at 2, we're at 1.8, which is about right here. Okay, and we'll go ahead and make a graph. Okay, so again, we want to talk about the A, the B, the Y-intercept, and the M behavior. So A, and we'll go ahead and write this out here, f of x is equal to A, B raised to the x. So A is 5. B is going to be 0.6. And the Y-intercept is where x is 0, what is y. You can also see that's where it's going to cross the y-axis. That's going to be 0, 5. And now we just need to do the end behavior. So as x approaches negative infinity, what does y do? So as we go left, 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 this is going to keep going up to positive infinity. And as x goes to positive infinity, what does y do? Gets closer and closer and closer and closer to 0. Right, so that is graphing the exponential function and determining end behavior, y-intercept, so forth and so on. And I want to thank you for checking out A1 Math. Have a nice day.